everyone, it's Cindy. Welcome back to Studioloo. So if you were with me yesterday when I was organizing through all this sort of scrapbooky type stuff, I was like, okay, these super ugly, gonna throw them away because I don't live my life in a princess nursery. So then I was like, wait a minute, I gotta keep the ones that say TV because I need them for my TV, my VHS journals. So now, this video is just going to be called, I almost threw these away, because why would you do that? So, look how cool these turned out. Do you see that? Okay. So, I'm going to show you what I did. These are just acrylic inks sprayed onto these things. And, like, they are so cool. Like, this one almost like there's color in it that looks almost oil slick like. I don't know why. It's just, I guess, the way that acrylic ink and heat gun act on this surface. So like the surface of this cardstock has some sort of like very thin plasticization going on. Like you can feel that the front is different than the back. The back just feels like paper. The front has like a noticeably smooth coating. So when I put the ink onto the top of these, I noticed it starting to kind of separate into these fun bubbles like an oxide. But then when I added heat, I started to get these colors and iridescent bits. So the products that I used on these are this Marabou Mixed Media Art Spray. It's just an acrylic spray. The colors are 082 Silver and 295 Cocoa. And I just did this in my grunge box. I'm going to try to work on these ones today. These are going to go aside to go into the VHS journals, and I'm going to add a couple of more colors at minimum. Petrol, which is this bluey color. The sprayer is broken on it, so I have to drip that one. And gray, which is quite a dark gray. So let's shake these. Okay, now they're shaken, and so am I. Okay, so let's move these out of the way. Put them with the rest of the TV ephemera, which yesterday I was going to go thrifting to go find like another kind of TV, VHS kind of relevant book. This grunge box is not as good as my old one, and it totally warps. It's all crazy, but that's okay. Anyways, so I didn't have to because I realized I had another whole entire basket of book pages that I'd pulled out of a couple of TV books already, like old cinema type books. So yeah, I don't need to do any thrifting, and I didn't. I exhibited some self-control. Okay, so I'm just going to lay these all down, these brown ones, because I don't see myself truly using these as they are with these patterns a whole lot, but I think that the look that I got after they're sprayed, it feels very vintage collage, very I hate to call it like Tim Holtz, although he does do a lot of letters, and that's the only reason I call it that. I think like a vintage color and a wash is more of an art technique than something that's branded. But yeah, that being said, he does work with a lot of random letters, which at first I was kind of like, I don't really get it, why, but now I do. I definitely do. Okay, so I'm going to start with Cocoa because that's what I started with yesterday. So I just spray a little heavily on these. The sprayer on this has a strange directional way of being. So I'm just going to kind of glide across them. So you can already see, right? The ink is like separating. It's reacting in some way to the plastic. So I'll do these first ones the same way as I did the ones that I just showed you. So then I came in, after the separating started, I came in with silver, or whatever this color is, gray. Is it silver? Silver. And I added to just get to the spots that didn't have any ink. And you'll see this is quite wet. But you see it, like, what it's doing? It's kind of getting a little swirly. Now, I just let these sit for probably, I don't know, a few hours, honestly, because I got busy doing other things. So what happened, as they were sitting is that like the ink would start to collect in these puddles. So see how like it has puddled over in the corner there? I should also mention that the first box I did was a lot more crowded, so there was overlap, and that's why you still see some pink on some of the pieces. I'm not going to do that this time. I only see like one spot really that's overlapping, and that's fine. So I'm going to probably just let these sit, but before I do that, I'm going to come up with my heat gun maybe on one of them and see what happens if I go ahead right away. This one has not too much like puddling, so I'm going to use this one. And I don't want them to blow away. Don't blow away. So I'll just put this here and hold on to it. I'll grab the other ones after here. I just want to see if I get the same, you know, so you can see bubbling happening. Just be careful because paper and plastic, see that plastic coming up right there? That's the first time I've seen that happen. So it's a little different when you do it right away, or maybe I've just been hitting it with too much heat too quickly. So just be a little careful because, you know, obviously paper and plastic do have a flash point. It's pretty high though, much higher I think than your typical heat gun. But yeah, I'm gonna hit that again with some ink just because I don't want the raw paper really showing. But I'm just going to let these air dry for a while so that they have some time to just kind of like let the ink do its thing. I'm going to swirl it around like this, and you can already see that we're getting that more like, it almost reminds me of like an overdeveloped photograph, you know, like how when you're developing photos back in the olden days when I developed my own photographs, you would see them sort of turn. If you went too long in the developer, you would see that kind of turning. Like it's often like an effect that you see in movies or music videos when people are trying to kind of add drama, like you see like a photo kind of go from a family photo into this like warped looking, you know, thing to nothing. It's being like over processed basically. So that's how I feel like these look, and like I just think they're really cool, and I'm so glad I didn't throw them all away. So I'm just going to spend today kind of going through my stack as I'm doing other things and creating these for future projects because I think they're going to be a lot of fun. So this is kind of a tip too, like if you're building a studio, right, a creative space, and you need materials, you're making things, you know, to sell, or you're working at kind of a production level, it's a really good way to build materials to do a passive background project like this. So like, yes, I'm working today on these journals because I've got more ephemera I need to put into them, but in the background I'm going to have this drying, and then when it's done I'm going to, you know, continue this video and show you the next step. So that's like the third kind of parallel that I'm working in today creatively, is also sharing with you. So yeah, it's a good way to be like more productive. Like a lot of people say to me like, how do you get so much done? That's how. I don't know if it's like I'm just maybe I don't want to diagnose myself with anything, but sometimes I think I'm a little bit of a high-functioning ADHD person. Maybe I haven't been diagnosed, but it wouldn't surprise me, to be honest. I don't know if it's that personality characteristic of mine, or if it's like just because I've worked for a long time in project management and I'm always thinking about like several moving things at once. But if you're looking to kind of be more productive, and not everyone is, like some people are like, I just do this because it's fun and it's my thing, and I get that too. I think it's a blend for me. I love being productive and feeling like I'm getting things done, and I also really enjoy just getting really immersed in my passion of like creating things. So that being said, it does kind of feel good to have these multiple like production lines in your head that can really flow together because they're not interrupting each other. You know what I mean? Like your brain synapses are you know, kind of able to do their thing, and you're not feeling like rushed, like you have to do a bunch of things. So yeah, passive background making is nice, just like mass making, because it gives you things. you know, not all of us live in a cramped, you know, or not a cramped space, but like a studio that's already full of tons of stuff that we've bought or whatever. Some of us are starting, right, from the ground up. Like you're like, okay, I have a few magazines, I have an old book, I've got some old things from something I did in the past. Like this is how to kind of recreate and rejig, right? Like go from, you know, some kind of a scrap left over from your princess nursery to this, right? Grungy and fun. So I'm going to let these go hang out for a bit and dry up, and I will come back to you when they've dried and work on my journals for a little bit. So my plan before I go, I'll share it with you. Let me just set these aside. Drying table. My plan with these is to take, say, like this, and I need a V. Maybe I will punch out a V, I don't know. But like these are punch outs, right? So I'm going to use a background of some kind from my scraps, probably. I might do some scrap collage to create a collage board. And then I'm going to create something like this on top, and that whole thing will become a pocket, right, for my VHS journals. I could also do like VHS. Thankfully, my dear friend Mary Ellen at Red Parrot on YouTube, I will link her below, she mentioned you could also do the call letters for the channels like NBC, CBC, those kind of things. So another good idea. So yeah, that's what I'm going to work on for now, and I will talk to you a little bit later when those sweet little letters have had some time to kind of do their thing. Alrighty, so I think we've had enough time pass to let those dry. I just want to show you before I move on. Here is one of my little TV pockets for my VHS journals. So I use some of this paper pad. It's like a sparkly, I'm working on a few more of them. So I'm using the black and I'm using the silver because I feel like it's kind of reminiscent of like the fuzz that you would see on old TVs when there was no channel. Also, I found this fun book that I forgot that I had that was based on the Central Independent Television series, Blockbusters. And so it's got all these cool pages in it, and it was like a game show. So I found some more ephemera for these journals. So that's kind of beside the point though of what we're trying to do. So let me get this out of the way. All right, so I'm going to go retrieve these. They're just behind me on my little drawing table. Okay, so here they are. So you can see that, you know, lots of drawing has occurred, but there's these puddles. So what I did was just kind of tip everything in a few different directions, just kind of move it around a bit. All right, so yeah, that's good. I still do want a bit of puddling because it's going to create that kind of oil slick look in those puddles. I think it's the silver ink that does some of that, but I also think it's the ink reaction on the plastic in general. So now I'm just going to come in and I'm just going to blow downward so they don't all blow everywhere if possible. And you'll see that we're starting to dry this up. These puddles, because they're acrylic ink, they actually don't take that long to dry. Start to see some bubbling and some moving. Just got to be careful not to get too hot or you will melt that plastic layer. So just move back a little if you see that happening. I do want a little bubbling though. That's kind of the point. It does take a little while, but it's not too bad. Okay, so you're seeing the effects. Okay, so I won't keep on drawing. So here's a good example here and here of, you know, what we are creating. these are almost dry, but like how cool. And then once you punch the letter out, you know, you get that negative, and also the positive, right? And then you end up with like cool things like this. So yeah, that's my little, hey, don't throw that away tip for you for today. And also just a little, you know, chat on passive productivity. And that's it for now. So I will be back again soon with something else. I've sort of decided, like, after Mass Make March, I was a little, I think, too tired to jump back into doing Tuesday 10 every Tuesday. Tuesday 10 is a fun thing I do every Tuesday where like I take 10 things out of my paper stash that I keep, and I have to keep working till I've used all 10 up. But it also can be a little bit mentally draining and exhausting because I have to kind of think outside the box on demand, and there's no pre-planning of any kind. So it's a good brain exercise for me, but also I just kind of feel a little tired after Mass Make March. I was so busy. So I just want to like roll with it a little and let myself just work on journals and creativity and see what new things I come up with, right? Like, I think if you give yourself like different, it's almost like going, remember when you were like in school and your teacher would like set up all these different workspaces, like one would be a sandbox and one would be a water table and one would be cutting out paper, and you would go from, you know, workspace to workspace. That's kind of what I'm doing in adult studio kind of mode right now, is I'm just like doing a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and seeing what kind of new stuff I can think of, because I'm also in the back of my mind broiling ideas for other kinds of collaborations that I want to host in the future. I've already come up with another list of prompts for another Mass Make March or something similar to that. It may not be March, because like, yeah, there's just a lot of good things that I can think that, and I'm enjoying creating sort of prompt lists right now, and I have a few different ideas in mind. So yeah, that's it for today, and thanks for hanging out with me. I will talk to you again very soon with some other random thing that's going on. Okay, take care. Bye for now.